All right, so this was an amazing night in basketball. For one, we had the NBA's second annual in-season tournament going on, and at the exact same time, we had the Champions Classic. Game one of the annual Champions Classic was between the Michigan State Spartans and the Kansas Jayhawks, and obviously, you guys see my feed. I had to comment on game two of the Champions Classic game between Duke and Kentucky. One of the best college basketball games so far early on in this season. A real contrast, right? On one hand, you have this Kentucky team that is super reliant upon their veterans, while you have a Duke team where the number one storyline for this group is their freshman, their 17-year-old freshman in Cooper Flagg. Off the bat, even coming in as a Kentucky fan, I want to give a ton of credit to Cooper Flagg and how he played down the stretch. To be 17 years old and come into this environment against a very experienced Kentucky team with a lot of great individual players from a lot of different parts of the country, right? This is a team that's made up of a lot of different players from different universities. This isn't a group that's super meshed well together right now, and that's kind of scary considering how good they are right now while not being super meshed well together. But for Cooper Flagg to come in and look this comfortable, really also as a shot creator too down the stretch, at this age, it was extremely impressive. Duke really deferred to him down the stretch as the guy to want to close the game out with, right? And there were some times where he did great in that regard, and there were also some times where he struggled just a bit. There were a couple of turnovers in there, a couple of times where he got slowed down and kind of dribbled himself into trouble a bit. I know the last time he had the ball in the game, he was in the deep corner, and Amari Williams got an amazing stop on him to really help seal this game for the Wildcats, but still for Cooper Flagg to come into this game and play the way that he did offensively, really also primarily as a shot creator. That was the most impressive thing about him. A lot of people talk about his athleticism and his defensive ability and his rebounding, and those things were on display this game for sure. But the shot creating ability, especially kind of in that mid-range area, really neat to see for somebody who is so young and relatively inexperienced at this collegiate level. And he's just going to continue to get better as the season progresses. So amazing game here from Cooper Flagg. Great performances here and there from Duke. They did a good job in that first half, especially at slowing down Kentucky. So if you know this Kentucky team and the way Mark Pope has them running their offense, there are a lot of backdoor cuts going on. A lot of guards kind of slipping screens here and there to cut backdoor, to cut to the rim. I thought early in this game, Duke did a pretty solid job at times at containing that. They're also doing a good job at pressuring Kentucky, really kind of relegating them out to the three-point line, not allowing them to beat them off the dribble, and really keeping them far away from the basket. And in doing that, they did an amazing job of slowing them down, forced a lot of turnovers in that first half. I thought the story of that first half was Duke's defense and being able to slow down Kentucky, stop those backdoor cuts, cut off some of those easier finishes, and those sorts of things. Then it flips. We get to the second half, and the reason that Kentucky is able to storm back in this game is due to their defense. They did an amazing job on that end of the floor. Going back, and I just mentioned it, when it comes to them closing this game out, which I thought they did an amazing job at, their closing aspect of this game was so good. Most of that was because of their defense. I mentioned it before. Amazing defensive moments late in the game against Cooper Flagg. There was one play where Andrew Carr is one-on-one here with Cooper Flagg. Flagg tries to attack left. I think tries to like spin or turn right. Then Otega Oweh gets an amazing steal and ends up getting fouled down the other end. Then there was also this play that I just referenced earlier where Cooper Flagg kind of dribbles himself into trouble a bit, and Amari Williams gets a really good stop. Kentucky's ability to close in this game was so good, and they primarily did it with their ability to defend. Their defense down the stretch was amazing. It was the reason they were able to generate so many points and kind of swing this game back in their favor. And that's become kind of a trend with Kentucky teams over the last couple of seasons. While they have been generally inexperienced with a lot of freshmen in the lineup, they've always turned out to have some really solid defensive groups. So it's good to know that that culture has not left. They were amazing defensively here late in this game. As I said, the reason they were able to close this game out so well was off of their defense. But moving over here to their offense, they got some really good performances all around. For one, you had Andrew Carr, who I thought was so impressive here today. And I think that's one thing we have to talk about here with this Kentucky team is how versatile that front court is of Amari Williams and Andrew Carr. So Amari Williams wasn't in the game for a significant part of that late second half. So Andrew Carr kind of took over and made so many great plays. There was a drive to the basket for an and one layup. There was a play where he's at the top of the key, kind of acting as a playmaking hub, and hits a guard who backdoor cuts. An amazing pass, similar to what we're seeing Amari Williams do so far this season. And then there was another and one layup he had late in that second half as well. Andrew Carr was just so good, a Swiss Army knife type of big guy, super versatile, amazing decision making as well. So even on plays where he wasn't getting a point or getting an assist, his decision making and his poise was so good down the stretch here for this Kentucky team. One of the most versatile front court attacks in the entire league. Not only are these guys sizable, but they can make the right pass. They can finish well at the rim. They can attack the basket off the dribble. Really unique stuff. And with Andrew Carr especially, does have an ability to be a threat as a floor spacer. Also some really good performances all around. The bench, Kirk Kriisa off the bench had some good moments. There were some times where his shot making or shot creating decisions weren't at their best. There are a couple of ill-advised shots here and there, but really brings this energy and flair off the bench at that point guard position. Great moments also from Kobe Bryant coming off the bench, one of the most sought-after guys on the transfer portal. Good start to the season so far here for Kentucky, especially with his three-point shooting tonight. Was super, super productive. Great moments also off the bench from Garrison. And also going back to their starters, Otega Owe, once again, amazing from a two-way perspective. Made a massive defensive play to help seal this one for the Wildcats. Getting that strip steal on Cooper Flagg and also on the offensive end was just great as well. So just an amazing all-around two-way performance for this Kentucky team. Love seeing them get a high quality win like this so early in the season because let's be honest, they're going to have one of the toughest seasons out of any college basketball championship contender this season. This is as good as we've seen the SEC be in a very long time. There's Alabama, there's Auburn, there's so many squads mixed in there. It's good for Kentucky to establish this rhythm early on, especially given the fact that they are trying to make a ton of different guys mesh. I mentioned it earlier. Yes, these are veteran players they have, like Lamont Butler, like Amari Williams, Andrew Carr, those types of guys, but they have not played together at a super high volume. These are a ton of different guys that Mark Pope is trying to make fit and work together. To get a win like this early in the season is an amazing tone setter, right? And we're not near conference play just yet, right? That's a little bit down the road, but this is a great tone-setting victory for a Kentucky team that is just continuing to try to mesh a hodgepodge of guys that are from a bunch of different areas here and there across the country. So amazing win, amazing tone setter. Like I said, I want to give Duke a ton of credit for this game. There were some holes here and there, but overall, I thought they executed pretty well, did a good job at establishing themselves early in that first half. I think their defense is definitely going to be something to keep an eye on moving forward into the season because they did an amazing job, as I mentioned earlier, at pressuring Kentucky out there on the perimeter and pushing them away from the basket. So great first game, really, or first super competitive game for both of these teams, and we'll see how things turn out as the season progresses and what will be a very interesting college basketball season.